Hi, 7th grade. I would like to share with you now exactly how I want you to do the revisions for your fiction story. Remember that your story is supposed to be about a character who makes a tough decision. Tough is a word that in English can mean difficult, and so I'm not sure that everybody understood that word, but anyway. Revising your story. So I want you to follow these steps. That means you're probably going to have to go over your story 5 or 6 times. Okay. Count the words. If you have fewer than 200, add more and put a 1. So like if you have 159 words, then you need to add 41 more words. Please don't write very 30 times. You should add some dialogue, or you should add some details to your description. You should add another little thing that happened. So that's the kind of thing. Don't repeat things. Don't repeat words. Don't say something in a different way, because this is a story. You want to keep the reader's interest. If you have enough, it means you have at least 200 words, then add more. Go ahead and still add more details and dialogue, and add something. And put a 1 next to that. So you put a 1 next to either where you added more words, or where you added more dialogue or details. Put your word count at the end of your story. So if you end up with 201 words, put 201 at the bottom of your story. Look over your story. Number 2, look over your story and make sure your main character actually makes a tough or difficult decision. Put a 2 by that place. Okay, so in the example that I read to you on the video that you should have watched, the 7th grade girl actually goes over and talks to the boy, and that's where she makes that decision and acts on it. Okay, so you would put a 2 next to that. Number 3, put a 3 next to your dialogue where at least 2 characters say something. If you don't have any, if you still don't have any, okay, add some and put a 3. So you might end up putting a 1 and a 3 next to the same thing if you added dialogue to your rough draft. Number 4, check your word choices, especially prepositions. Remember, we went through prepositions and some things like in, on, at, until, of, from, things like that people have trouble with. Did you use the right word? If you make a change, put a 4 by it. So if you change something from in to on, then put a 4 by it. Or if you changed another word, put a 4 by it. Okay, number 5. Do you have capital letters and periods showing the beginning and end of each sentence in your story? Unless your sentence is a question, then it would have a question mark at the end, but that makes sense, right? Do you have any run-on sentences that need to be fixed? Once again, run-on sentences are when you put 2 or more sentences together without having the appropriate conjunction or maybe semicolon in it to add them together. You could also count sentences that go on for a long time. Maybe they're grammatically incorrect, but if you have a sentence that's like 6 or 7 lines long, that's too long. You need to divide that, and if you make one of these kinds of changes, then mark 1 with a 5. You might end up making a lot of changes, but you only need to mark them 1 time. Don't mark a whole bunch of number 5s or whatever. Okay, you need to mark them on your paper, but you don't need to put a little number 5 next to all of them. I hope that makes sense. Number 6, correct any spelling, grammar, or punctuation errors, and mark 1 with a 6. That's a big example, because when you read things over that you have written before, many times you will see silly errors that you made the first time, and you can correct several errors. Don't just correct 1, correct as many as you find, but put a 6 next to 1. You only need 4 of these to get your 4 points. The other 2 are extra credit. Please do them anyway. Okay? Most of you need extra credit, if not all of you. Yeah. I'm trying as hard as I can to give you guys as many ways to make points as you can. So please do that. Okay, so once you have done all of this, then you can turn in your revisions. Your revisions are your rough draft with these things marked on them. If you just give me another draft of your paper without anything marked on it, that is not revisions. Revisions is you showing me where you have checked things and made some changes. And this is a way for you to check things and make some changes that I can see that you kind of know what you're doing. A famous author, James Joyce, once said that there are no good writers, only good editors. And that's quite something to say, especially for him, because he wrote very, very long, like 1,000-page novels. And he was very famous for taking a long time to get one sentence absolutely correct and then moving to the next sentence. So it took him a long time, many, many, many hours to write a novel. And he wrote very long ones. So, professional writer says that. Somebody who made a lot of money writing novels, somebody who wrote very long, very good novels, then you can go by your little story and make corrections on it and improvements on it. Okay? So, I think that's all I need to tell you, except that once you have done all of this, you need to go to your final draft, and in your final draft, you should give me that nice copy of your story that's written with all of these corrections made. Okay? Yeah, and if you can find other corrections that aren't on here, like if you want to make a paragraph break or something like that, great. Okay? When you give me your revisions, please give me just a little bit to look at your revisions, and maybe I might want to add something. And always, always, whenever I make an edit on something, and you see that little file in Classroom, it says edits or edited or whatever it says in Spanish, then you need to open that and see if there's something that I have done or marked on there that might be helpful for you. Okay? So I think that's all I have to say. Happy writing.